So hello guys, and welcome to another video, and we just got the first sales update for the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake. So basically, it sold 1.76 million for the first month that it was out. This goes up to June 30th, and that may seem low at first, but that was actually a pretty solid launch. That is not a bad number at all, and I feel like this game could actually sell pretty well for its lifetime sales. Because comparing that to other Paper Mario games, like, that is still the third strongest launch in the series behind Sticker Star and Origami King. But when comparing them, like, this might actually do better than, like, games like Sticker Star and almost will probably do as well as Origami King. And in this video, I just want to kind of talk about why this isn't a bad thing at all, and why people shouldn't doom post about it, because I feel like we had really high and unrealistic expectations for this game, because we have to keep in mind that we're towards the end of the Switch's lifespan, and all of the other games this year sold significantly less than this. And it's also about to surpass, if not already surpassed, the original game's sales at 1.91 million, since the game did sell more after this since June 30th. So it probably already sold over 2 million at this point, which is pretty good for the first 2 months. I know it's not the Super Mario RPG 3 million number, but that was kind of because that game released during the holiday season. Of course it was going to sell really well during that time. But, like I said, this is pretty similar to what we'd expect other Paper Mario games to sell. Super Paper Mario sold 1.74 million in its first quarter, and Sticker Star sold 1.83 million in its first quarter. And that game was a holiday title. So, if the Thousand Year Door remake is selling as well as a holiday title Paper Mario game did, back on a console that was newer at the time, I think that's a pretty good sign. Because Nintendo will still see that as a success. And I know a lot of people are comparing this to Origami King, but Origami King sold 2.8 million for its first quarter, and that was 2.5 months, not just 1 month. That was July to September. And that was also during the height of the pandemic, when no other games were releasing. Right now, there are a decent amount of Nintendo games releasing, even though it isn't as much as like some other years. There still are a decent amount releasing now. And sales dropped off pretty quickly after that quarter as well, while many other Switch games had legs. So there's a possibility that the Thousand Year Door remake will have stronger lifetime sales over time because of the fact that it was released fairly late in the quarter, while Origami King was kind of released pretty early in the quarter. It almost had that full quarter to get 2.82, while the Thousand Year Door remake only had that single month there. So I feel like comparing that one graph that shows the launch sales, I don't think that's entirely something to judge it off of. It's like a little bit misleading, because like Origami King had a lot more time to sell that well and everything. So by the next sales report, we could definitely see this selling significantly better. I'm thinking like the next sales report will probably be around like 2.3 to 2.5 million. Then the lifetime sales might even surpass 3 million. Because we have a holiday season ahead. I know Brothership is also coming out, but I feel like Thousand Year Door is still distinct enough of a thing to sell well, like even with those other games. So I still feel like it could still easily sell 2.5 to 3 million, because that wouldn't be like as much as the launch sales to get there. That would still put it at like the either the second or third best-selling Paper Mario game, and technically like the second overall, like if you're considering the original game sales as well. So it actually technically already is the second best-selling Paper Mario game if you lump it into the original game, since that means it would be over like 3.5 million when kind of lumping it into the original game and everything. But I know that's a topic for a different day. I just think that's worth mentioning. But another thing, while a lot of people are comparing them to other Paper Mario games, I think it's also fair to consider the rest of Nintendo's library, since Thousand Year Door was one of the best-selling, if not the best-selling game for the first half of 2024. It outsold Another Code, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Peach Showtime, Endless Ocean, and also had a stronger launch than Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So that means Thousand Year Door was the strongest first-party title for the first half of the year. So I think that's something that Nintendo would consider more than comparing this game's sales to Origami King. They also said that this game was a good start in terms of sales, so they very likely view this as a success. They likely didn't have as high of expectations as we had. They probably were expecting lifetime sales of 2 million, because remakes don't always sell as well as like new games and everything. But the Thousand Year Door remake, like looking where it is now, it's easily gonna surpass that 2 million, like, kind of threshold. So, it's likely selling better than Nintendo was expecting it to. And selling better than Origami King is not exactly a good threshold, especially for a title released in the middle of the year at the end of the Switch's lifespan, like I mentioned. And, like, comparing the two games, like, of course Origami King would have more in its favor because of the way it would release. So I don't think Nintendo is exactly, like, looking at these sales numbers at face value. I think they're looking at it in a more nuanced way. Like, with how other games are selling, and not just the Paper Mario series. Another important thing to keep in mind is that just because a game may not sell as well as Origami King, doesn't mean that Nintendo won't continue to bring back the old formula. Going back to the modern formula would not be a good look for Nintendo. Now, with the remake actually selling well and everything, they would be alienating an entire audience of 2+ million people who played and enjoyed Thousand Year Door. So even though it might not reach that threshold of selling better than the game, I still feel like that would be a bad idea at that point, because it would still be ignoring the good sales of the Thousand Year Door remake. Like, not exactly reaching a certain point doesn't mean that it's selling bad. Like, that is just a really unhealthy mindset to have about a game. And one very comparable example of a series returning to form in a similar way to Paper Mario is Mario Party. And Mario Party Superstars sold less than Super Mario Party, while the next game, Jamboree, is still going to be similarly designed to Superstars in terms of the boards, gameplay, and items. So, the sales of Superstars and Super Mario Party weren't exactly a deciding factor for Nintendo, because Mario Party Jamboree, in a sense, is kind of like a combination of ideas from both Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars. They're basically bringing in the base gameplay and the base board design that everybody loved about Superstars, and then kind of throwing in some of the fun little things that people didn't mind about Super Mario Party, like the extra modes and different things like that. So this is really a continuation of both of those Mario Party games. So Nintendo doesn't really base the future of a series on one game selling better than the other. They just see that a game is successful and try to bring elements of that game into other games. So I feel like the next Paper Mario game still has a very good possibility of continuing the classic formula of Thousand Year Door, but also bringing in some of the ideas from Origami King, like larger world design, and some of like the story elements, and some of like the moment-to-moment scenarios, but also bringing in the good character design, storytelling of Thousand Year Door, with like the gameplay of Thousand Year Door, the battle system, but also expanding upon it, and kind of adding new welcomed gimmicks without throwing out the old formula. That really seems like the best way to approach this, considering the fact that both Origami King and Thousand Year Door are selling well. Because if they just go in the path of reinventing Paper Mario again, just because the one Paper Mario game that reinvented itself sold better, that wouldn't really be the best decision. So, I feel like kind of bringing in the best of both worlds and kind of building off of Thousand Year Door's gameplay would probably be the best thing to do at this point. So it's really not worth worrying about the remake's sales, even though it might not be the 5, 6, 7 million that we were expecting it to be. At the end of the day, it's a Mario RPG, and the Mario RPGs only sell moderately well. I know those 2 to 4 million sales numbers may not seem like a lot, but that's actually pretty normal for most games, and actually pretty successful in terms of most, like, main, like, AAA games and everything. Since, like, other series, like Sonic and Kirby, tend to sell around that amount. Like, they aren't really selling the numbers that mainline Mario, Pokemon, or Zelda games do. Those are anomalies. Those are the heavy hitter Nintendo titles. Those are not every video game. So 2 to 4 million is still good for any given video game. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.